everybody. Welcome back to Dividend Stockpile, where we talk about all things income investing related. Today, I'm so excited to welcome Jillian Johnsrud here to the channel. So Jillian is a writer, a speaker, a coach, a host of the Retire Often podcast, and the author of a brand new book coming out on September 9th titled Retire Often, all of which focus on how many retirements can unlock work-life balance, purposeful living, and financial freedom. So with all that, Jillian, welcome to the channel.
Awesome. Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to be
Absolutely.
here.
Thank you. Yeah, I was so excited to have the chance to get you on the channel, talk about some of your great work and your excellent book that's coming out in just a couple weeks now. So that's got to be super exciting for you.
Very, yeah. Book's taken a long time to write.
Right? Yeah,
for 3 years to this
absolutely.
point.
Oh my goodness. I can't imagine. So congratulations to you to getting to the finish line. September 9th, Retire Often comes out. That's going to be excellent. I was able to get an advanced copy of the book, and I have to say it's fantastic. And I'm really looking forward to digging into it with you.
Thank you.
Awesome. All right. So for everyone who may not be familiar with you and your work, can you kind of give like a very high level background of yourself and kind of the different things you do?
Yeah, so it kind of started, I got married at 19 and my spouse at the time and we had a ton of debt, like $55,000 of debt. And, you know, we went into low earning profession. So like a really, really fantastic combination. um, so we weren't really thinking about retiring early. That seemed crazy talk. But we had all these goals and these dreams and these things that maybe didn't fit alongside the 9 to 5 perfectly.
Mm-hmm.
And so this idea of like a sabbatical or a mini retirement, I was like, hey, what if we did this? Like, I think if we just like save a little bit more money, like this could be amazing. Um, and over the years, like we paid off the debt and we started investing and we started budgeting and emergency fund and all of that. And then we started taking these mini retirements.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I knew I had a hunch. I had a hunch that it would be good for our personal life, like
Yeah.
focusing on travel or our goals or our health or our family, doing cool experiences. I didn't realize how beneficial it would be for our financial trajectory and for our professional trajectory. And so 10 years ago, almost exactly 10 years, I started writing online. We had
Mm-hmm.
actually become financially independent. And so I started talking about this life post financial independence and these mini retirements we took along the journey. And 10 years later, I have a book. So I'm basically an overnight success because like it only took a decade.
Right.
But I really wanted to, like you mentioned, I've done coaching. I've worked with people, hundreds of people, one-on-one or in group settings. Like, how do you actually pull this off? Like, it's a
Mm-hmm.
cool idea, but
Yeah.
what about the finances and what about your
Mm-hmm.
career and what about healthcare? And I'm 42 now. So it's been 23 years since that first conversation. And, my spouse at the time had all of those questions.
Yeah.
But what about all these things? And I didn't have the answers then. But in the last 23 years, I figured out those answers. And I was like, well, let's just compile them all into a book. Nice and neat to give people the tools, but also the hope. Like, this is really possible. And it's going to be so good in perhaps lots of areas of your life.
Absolutely. It's amazing in your book, all the details you go through and all the different topics you cover, not just the
Yeah.
finance, not just the how do I tell my family. You really go through
Mhm.
every detail of the process of that initial spark that gets you thinking about mini retirements to actually how to accomplish it and the
Yeah.
mindset you need when you're in that mini retirement. So you're not just sitting on the couch scrolling through TikTok or something like that. So it's really a great book. So a lot of us would love the opportunity to not have to sit in our job for 40 years.
Mhm.
The traditional work, you work 40 years, you hopefully save up enough money by the time you're 62 or 65, you retire and, hopefully you can enjoy your life. But what a lot of people find out, and in my family situation, you sometimes don't make it to 62 and you
Yeah.
sometimes don't have the health that you want at 62 to do all the things
Yep.
you want to do, like hike the national parks, like go
Mhm.
visit with the grandkids, like do college visits with your kids once they get to that age. There's so many things that we want to do in life, but we're stuck in our 40-hour a week job or more for a lot of people. And so
Yeah.
the idea of retiring early is a dream, but the
Yeah.
idea of a mini retirement as you're working towards your fire journey is even more impressive. And so that's what I think is very unique to your path and the way your book is read. It really does talk about taking that time while you're younger, while you're
Mhm.
still able to, while your kids are still around, to do all
Mhm.
the things in life that you want to do, and not wait until 62 or 67 and whatever, and miss out on all those opportunities in life.
Yeah, kind of like you mentioned, there are seasons with expiration dates.
Hmm.
Everything has a 40-year shelf life. There are things that if you wait till you're 65, that moment in time has passed you by.
Yeah.
And I guess 8 years ago, maybe I did a 10-week road trip with my five little kids in a pop-up camper to 10 national parks. And it was such an incredible trip. And I remember, I think we did all the parks out west, and we were maybe in Yosemite. And my oldest was like 10, and my youngest was maybe 2. And I remember thinking, oh, this won't last forever. Like, this wouldn't wait forever. If I wanted to wait 20 years until all
Hmm.
my kids are, like, in their 20s and 30s, they're
Yeah.
not gonna be able to do a 10-week trip in a pop-up camper with me, like, they're gonna have jobs and families and
Exactly.
houses and stuff, and
Yeah.
so there are some things, like, we either lean in that moment and we enjoy that and we have that memory, or just feel the grief that
Hmm.
it's gonna pass you by, while your parents are young enough to hike through Ireland with you, or before you have kids with your spouse and you wanna backpack in Europe, like, there's all these small moments in time that we can create, and my hope with Retire Often is that people could fill their life with these incredible small moments, and they could look back to their 20s and there's 2 or 3 really incredible things,
Hmm.
maybe before they had kids or when they met their spouse, and they look back in their 30s and there's all these moments that they cherish. I was actually just thinking, it's kind of morbid, but I was thinking about it the other day. I did this amazing road trip, a month long, DC to Seattle and back with my
Wow.
best friend in my
Yeah.
20s. And it was like awesome. Like, we slept on people's couches and, like, we camped and slept on the frozen ground and we almost got trampled by bison. It was the perfect trip for a 22-year-old
For
or
22.
24-year-old. Like, 100% not doing that again, but really glad I did it in my 20s. But I was thinking about it and all the people we saw along that trip, all
Hmm.
of the people that we loved and we cared about, and that, for me is almost 20 years ago. How many of those people have passed away now in my
Hmm.
life? Like, how many of those people I can't ever recreate that with, and I'm so happy I have that memory. I'm so happy I invested that little bit of time and that little bit of money because it's gone now.
Yeah. Yeah, we only have one life, and it sounds cliche, but you really only do have one life. And to your point, certain things you can only do at certain points in your life. And if
Yeah.
you are so busy with your career, thinking you have to work 40 years, or you're not saving enough money to give yourself options, you're going to miss out on those. Yeah, we can take a week here, 2 weeks here of vacation, but is that really enough to live those dreams you're thinking about, and really take time away from work and spend with your family and recharge and all those other things that we need to do when we're only doing a week at a time? We're trying to fill that entire week full of experiences because that's all we get. But your approach, you can take a couple weeks off or a month off or six
Yeah.
months off to really experience those things the way you want to experience them, and not have to worry about getting back to work on next Monday, that type of thing.
Yeah.
So with all that, I know we kind of talked around the subject, but can you give a definition of what you consider mini retirement? Because that's a big focus of your work and your book.
Yeah, I define a mini retirement, and there's lots of names for it. Sometimes people call it a gap year or
Mhm.
sabbatical or career break or hiatus, like whatever term kind of resonates with your soul, go with that. But
Yeah.
I define it by 3 characteristics. It's a month or longer. I
Okay.
find a month is kind of that minimum effective dose. The second one is you're stepping away from your 9 to 5.
Mm.
Now, maybe you're negotiating the time off, so you're going to come back to that specific job. Maybe it's in between jobs. Maybe it's a leave of absence, but you're stepping away from your primary career. And the third one is to focus on something that matters to you.
Yeah.
And when you get those 3 things together, it can be really magical.
Yeah, it sounds like it, because I mean, there's so many opportunities. Like, I have 4 kids myself, and like, it would be great to spend a month and just go up to maybe North Carolina or out west,
Yeah.
like where you are, and just spend the summer with them, just playing.
Yeah.
But when we have obligations here at work, like, you can't do that,
Mhm.
So just having that month long, whether it's for family, whether it's for yourself,
Mhm.
whether it's to build a new skill, there's so many things you
Yeah.
can do with that time. It's not just flopping on a couch and
Mhm.
vegging out for a month. Like, that's not the point of this.
Yeah. Yeah, and even if your plan is to recover from burnout, which I think like 89% of Americans say that they've experienced burnout in the last year, so it's frequent, it's widespread.
Yeah.
Um, but just sitting on the couch actually isn't usually the most effective. It doesn't refresh us in the same way. So
Yeah.
in the book, I outlined some tools of like how to find active rest
Mhm.
activities. Like,
Mhm.
what are activities that you can do that are restful, that give you more energy when you're done than when you started, whether that's taking a bath or having lunch with your mom or going for a walk with a friend or meditating or reading a book, like whatever that is for you, and plan out like 4 to 6 of those a day. And
Mhm.
just kind of to give your day a little bit of structure and give yourself the best chance of actually recovering.
Yeah. I think a big part of the mini retirement is the psychological part of it, like healing your soul, healing your body, things like
Yes.
that. So, what are some other ways that mini retirements can benefit someone more than just like I'm exhausted? Like,
Yeah. Yeah. There's a number of things that are really popular to use mini retirements for. So for some people, it is that like seasons with expiration dates, the things that
mhm,
they're like, if we don't do it in the next 5 or 10 years, like the moment's going to pass us by.
yeah.
For a lot of people, it's stuff that just doesn't fit into nights and weekends very well.
Mhm.
You're probably not going to hike the Camino in Spain on a 4-day weekend. Like you
I hope
need
not.
you need 30 days.
Yeah.
Um, so for some people, it's definitely travel,
Mhm.
especially long travel or slow travel.
Yeah.
Slow travel's such a different vibe
Mhm.
than a busy 4-day weekend. Um, Time with people that they love, time with people they care about. It's crazy, but one of our biggest predictors of our longevity, of our health, of our happiness is how many relationships we have, the
Mhm.
quantity and the quality of those relationships. But when you only have 2 weeks a year,
Mhm.
and some of those go to your kids' like sick
Mhm.
days and like sports activities, and then your friend gets married and you spend a couple extra days at Christmas with your parents because of travel,
Yeah.
and you do like, one 5-day vacation. Well, what about your friends from high school and your friends from
Mhm.
college and your aunt and the cousins you haven't seen in 3 years? And, you know, your friend sends you a picture of like your best friend sends you a picture of their child and the child's 4 and you're like, "Oh my gosh, I've never met
Yeah.
this child. It's been
Yep.
4 years since we've hung out." And so mini retirement can be an amazing opportunity just for time with people that we love and to invest in those relationships.
Yeah, it's so important because you're so occupied with your 9 to 5, your work life, your family life, getting things done around the house, whatever it is, something ends up having to give, and a lot of times that's your
Mhm.
friends, your extended family, your own mental state, like all that stuff
Yeah.
is put to the side because you're trying to get through the week or get through the month or whatever it happens to be. So by being very specific on what your intent is on these mini retirements can help balance all that stuff and actually grow those
Yeah.
relationships, like you said. So I know a lot of people consider the traditional retirement. I save up all my money.
Mhm.
I spend 4% a year plus inflation. Hopefully, it will last me long enough to the time I retire. Creating mini retirements is a much different approach.
Yeah.
So, how does someone go about the money side of
Mhm.
thinking about mini retirements?
Yeah, it's so the crazy thing is it's usually more affordable than people think,
Okay.
and it doesn't necessarily have as big of an impact on people's finals numbers as they might assume it would.
Yeah.
Um, but I think the first thing, I mean, there's lots of steps. I usually have people, kind of come up with that bucket list of what are all the different things you might want to do and what's the one that makes the most sense for the next mini retirement. We're going to
Mm,
assume you're going to take lots of them. So
exactly.
let's pick, we're not going to fit your bucket list of 87 things all into 1 month. Like let's pick one thing, and one of those factors is, where does this fit into our financial journey?
Mhm.
Like, it makes sense, if possible, to front load the affordable ones when you're early in your financial journey. Do the affordable things. And in the book, I kind of have a diagram of like your health and your capability might reduce over
Mhm.
your lifespan, but your financial freedom, if you're doing some stuff right, might increase over your lifespan. So what are the things that take a lot of health or a lot of capability, but are also really affordable. Let's do those
Mm.
like in our 20s and 30s.
Yeah.
And then let's pick things, the around the world cruise that's like 60K, like save it for your 70s. Lots of 70-year-olds like cruises. Like you will fully enjoy it then.
Yeah.
Don't do that at 22.
Yeah. Yeah.
When you're 22, hike through Asia and sleep in youth
Mhm.
hostels and,
Exactly.
live on $12 a day or whatever.
Yeah. So the mini retirements, the goal is to do multiple of them throughout your life to give you that break and give you that balance. So how can someone budget for something like that? And how does
Mhm.
someone communicate with their current employer of how to accomplish that?
Yeah, on the budget side, once you kind of have what this thing is, you can start pricing all of this out. And a
Mhm.
rule of thumb I encourage people to at least consider is take your monthly take home pay. So that's like $5,000 for this additional budget, try to keep it at about 50%. So if you bring home 5,000 for each month you're on your mini retirement, maybe spend an extra 2,500, but it keeps the cost
Mm.
really proportional to your salary right now. There
Okay.
again, maybe in 10 or 20 years, you're making a lot more money and you can have a lot more, extravagant mini retirements
Yeah.
because it kind of flexes with your lifestyle that at the same time.
Yeah.
But once you have that, you know how much you need to save. And it,
Mhm.
like I said, you can start with something affordable. I always encourage people to start with a month off because
Mhm.
there's so many benefits and the cost and the risk is really low. And for some people, this is a combination of I talk about the gap, like the space between our income and our expenses.
Mhm.
How can we grow that space? It's either through earning more money or reducing our expenses. And that's going to be different for everyone. So start with the thing that's really high leverage for you. What's the thing that has a big impact but
Mhm.
doesn't take much effort?
Yeah.
And do that thing. For some people, it's just working a couple extra hours
Mhm.
or dog sitting a couple times a month or taking on an extra project, getting a promotion. For other people, there's expenses. They're like, yeah, I'm spending like $700 a month on wine, and we
Yeah.
don't actually even like to drink that much. Like, why are we doing this? And so
Exactly.
start with those things. But the great thing is, you're not really in reducing your expenses. It's not for like, I'm not going to eat a Chipotle burrito bowl now so that when I'm 70 in 40 years, I can pay my water bill, which is like
Yeah.
such a long loop and kind of like boring and discouraging. It's,
Definitely.
I'm going to give up my Friday Chipotle burrito bowl
Mhm.
because next year I'm gonna be in Mexico eating street tacos. So I'm trading the crappy Mexican food at my desk
Yep.
for street tacos in Mexico while I'm learning Spanish. So you're just
Absolutely.
like delaying things and hopefully upgrading. It's a slight delay, but a massive upgrade.
Yeah. So a little bit of not pullback, but like conscious spending now can
Yeah.
provide you these opportunities that you don't think are possible. Like you look at your budget now, they're like, there's no way I could save up enough to take a month off. But think about all the little expenses that everyone does on a daily basis, the $7 coffees, to your point, the
Mhm.
Chipotle lunches, like the weekend at the bar, all those little things add up over time. And if you're intentional about your spending, you can certainly make this happen. So I think one of the things I love about your book the most and what stood out to me the most is design your ideal life. I think that was
Mm.
so powerful because like when we're young, we dream of this idyllic life that we want to have. And then reality hits and,
Yeah.
the responsibilities of life hit and our corporate and our job and our kids and all these things come up. But at the end of the day, we only have one life. So design the life
Yeah.
you want. I thought that
Yeah.
was really powerful in your book. And I really, really like that section.
I have this little quote sticker on the inside of my cabinet, and I took a picture of it this morning and I sent it to a friend. And it's one of my favorite quotes. Move confidently in the
Hmm.
direction of your dreams
Oh, nice.
and live the life you imagined. Like
Hmm.
there's one of my hopes for the book, even if you're like, oh my gosh, I have so many questions. I don't think this is going to work for me. I have like 100 reasons why this will not work for me. But my hope is after people read the book, they might not be like, okay, tomorrow I'm going to start a mini retirement. But once you have that idea and you have that framework and you can start to imagine it, like you can start to move in that direction. And maybe it's not next month, but maybe in a year or maybe
Hmm.
in 3 years, you realize, actually, I'm going to quit this job and I'm going to move across the country. I remember this book I read. Why don't I just take 3 months? Why don't we do a big road trip? Like,
Mhm.
why start a week later? Why
Yeah,
don't I build in this little mini retirement? And so life will present you opportunities if you have that intention, and just start to do a little bit of the preparation to get ready.
absolutely. And to that preparation, one of the things in your book is your financial pillars, the things
Mhm.
you can do to get to that point. So just quickly, because I don't want to totally like take away from your entire book, but what are the high level some of the pillars that you think people should work on in order to get to the point where they can have these mini retirements?
I get why people don't love to budget, and honestly, I think it usually goes poorly. It's like a
Yeah,
really discouraging activity, um,
absolutely.
but tracking your expenses can be really powerful. Just at the end of the month, look back and say, "How did it go? What did I learn? Did I get the value that I thought I would get from that?"
Mm,
Um, and knowing what I know now, like, no judgment, no shame, but knowing what I know now, what do I wanna do anything different next month? Can
yeah.
I take this information that I've learned because I took time to observe it, and can I roll that forward to make my budget and my spending even more aligned? So that first one is tracking the expenses so that you can spend more intentionally. Um, and then the great thing about mini retirements is that these pillars, like, for some people, I've always loved spreadsheets. I've always loved
Yeah.
numbers. I've always loved money. Like, this is my jam, and it's like dessert. But for some people,
Yeah.
shockingly, it's awful. Like, they hate this so much.
Yeah.
So a mini retirement's a great motivation of like, hey, if you spend a little bit of time with your money, you get
Mm-hmm.
this cool thing.
Yeah.
The mini retirement's the carrot. And it gets them through this process of learning to budget, of creating financial plans, learning how to grow that gap, either through
Hmm.
that extra income or reducing expenses. But then the second part of that's so important is guarding that gap.
Okay.
So you've created a $500 gap, and that's amazing. And if you just go out and lease a new car that
Yeah.
costs $500 a month, now it's disappeared,
Yeah.
and
Yeah. Yeah.
it's not really for much. But how do we guard that? Either by investing or saving money or paying off debt, investing in a business or a side hustle or real estate. How do we guard that gap? And then after people usually take their first mini retirement and they've done all of this stuff. They've learned to pay attention to their money and interact with it and be intentional, and they've done this skill set of building this gap and guarding it. You start to The sixth one is this financial empowerment. You're
Mm,
like, "Oh, actually, I'm the master of this."
yeah.
Like, money's not happening to me. I'm happening to my money, and I can make stuff happen.
Yeah.
I can create things, and it's this really empowered, like, you have agency over changing your financial trajectory,
Mhm.
and not just for, like, numbers on a spreadsheet to move, but in this tangible way of this mini retirement made your life better.
Yeah.
And so, like, you can figure out your money, and you can use your money to make your life better, which I think for people who don't, like, have little heart eyes about a spreadsheet is really powerful.
Yeah. It's interesting because we have all this money that comes in, and we can budget away, we can save money, we can cut back things.
Mhm.
But if it just sits in your bank account, you're not living your life on it. So take that money that you're saving and do something with it. Live your life. Yeah, we don't want to do a YOLO blow everything, but like be intentional and like spend the money, because what's the point of it just showing up on a spreadsheet? Like to your point, yeah, it might look cool, but did you change your life with it? One of the biggest things that happened for me is once I went from paycheck to paycheck type of
Mhm.
budget to having that excess, the
Yeah,
like having that abundance every month. That's really where my stress level went down.
yeah.
My ability to your point, have ownership of what I can do with my life and what the possibilities are. It's getting
Mhm.
from that struggling every single week to like having this abundance and having this extra that's there. I know some people call it the FU money type of thing.
Mhm.
Like it's you just have that mind shift change once you start having some excess in your
Yeah.
budget and in your life. So it goes a long way. Um, yeah, good.
Oh, it's funny you mentioned kinda like the FIRE movement, and
Yeah.
I've most of my clients have come from this space, um, and it's a unique situation where people are trying to save and invest their money to create more freedom, to
Yep.
create more financial freedom, and at the same time can be the least free people.
Mm,
They don't exercise any of that freedom. I've
true.
had clients that have $2 million and they're in a job they hate. And they're like, but there's no way I could take 6 months off.
Yeah.
And I'm like, dude, if you can't take 6 months off, who can? Like
Yeah.
you've stockpiled all of this money to give you options and to give you choices and to give you freedom and to give you independence. And you're so trapped
Yep.
because of this like 4% rule. And it doesn't hit 4%. So the money says no. And I'm like, why is your money bossing you around? Like you saved this money with this intention of having
Mhm.
freedom and choices and being able to live out your values. Like, are you going to let it do its job? If its job was to give you options, are you going to let it give you options? Or are
Yeah.
you going to let it tell you, no, you're not at 4%. Just give me 7 more years of work.
Right.
Like,
Yep.
and then
Exactly.
maybe I'll say yes.
Yeah, and then you have those other people that just keep adding one more year to their thing
Yep.
because they're so afraid that they're not going to have enough money, or they're
Yes.
so handicapped by the fact that what am I going to do without a paycheck? What if something happens? But
Yes.
at a certain point, you do have enough money, you do have enough resources to go live that life you're looking for.
Yeah.
So, as you know, this is an investing channel. We primarily focus on dividend and other types of income investing. And I know a big part of your 5 buckets of how to expand your gap, as you mentioned, is investing.
Yeah.
So I know that dividends isn't necessarily the primary way you have focused on it. These things like real estate, owning your own business, things like that. But how
Mhm.
can someone utilize, that quarterly dividend income to build out their mini retirements? Like, how can we use that to get to this?
I think it's great. I mean, obviously, it's an amazing place to guard that gap.
Hmm.
When you develop that gap of $300 or $500 or $1,000 a month, like
Yeah.
you don't necessarily have to upgrade, your food budget or whatever your car. You can guard it in this way. But I would encourage people to start thinking about, especially with dividend investing, like how am I going to let this function? Like
Hmm.
how am I going to let this benefit me? Um and and I find it just with my clients, like creating some rules that
Hmm.
reflect your values can be really helpful instead of constantly making the choice. So,
Mm.
if it's dividends, being like, you know what, half of dividends get reinvested for future growth, and
Yep.
half of them go into, I call it like, I have like these 2 barrels. There's the old age barrel for like
Mm.
traditional retirement,
Hmm.
and then the in between barrel. So
Absolutely.
maybe half of those go towards the old age barrel, and half of it goes towards the in between barrel, the barrel that says yes. When your old age barrel says no because it follows the 4% rule, your
Yep.
in between barrel says, yeah, you've got 5 grand in here.
Yep.
Yeah, absolutely. Take a month off. Like, go do this cool thing. Um, in between barrel gives you that flexibility to, if you want to start a business or go on a cool trip
Mhm.
or have these experiences. And so start to make those rules. If, like, I'm kind of a rule follower, so it resonates with me, but have that financial plan
Yep.
of, we want to create freedom, but what does that expression of freedom look like? And how can I create this financial plan that reflects the freedom and the choices and the values that I want to live out?
Yeah. I think that's so important. Again, like no matter which path you take when it comes to how to get the money, it has to be built into like your plan of like how are you going to use this money? How are you going to let this money work for you as opposed to the other way around? So I
Yeah.
think that's a great way to transition to a little bit more about your book. So super exciting. Again, I read it all the way through, and I think it's a fantastic book. I definitely recommend it to everyone. It's going to come out next month. I think a little bit less than a month from now, 3 weeks or so.
Yeah, like
So
2 or
that's
3
super
weeks.
exciting. So just high level, like why did you write it, and how do you envision people using your book?
It's so two ways. Because I've done so much one-on-one coaching. I've sat in
Mhm.
front of real humans who are trying to like actually execute this plan.
Yeah.
And so I have heard every fear. I've heard every
Mhm.
concern. I've heard every stumbling block, well, how do I handle this? How do I deal with this? And when you're sitting in front of another human who's actually going to go do the thing,
Mhm.
it can't be like fluffy and inspirational. Like, just go talk to your boss. Like, it'll be great. They'll love the idea. They're
Yeah.
like, no, no, no. Exactly what do I say? Like,
Right.
exactly how do I structure this conversation?
Yep.
So the book, it's very positive, but in reality, Every concern you have, I'm going to walk through these one by one. I'm going to tell you exactly how to go about it, what the exact script is,
Yep.
every little step that you need so that you feel really confident, you feel really prepared, and that you're going to get the most out of it.
Yeah.
Because almost anyone can take a mini retirement and it can be mediocre. Like
Hmm. Hmm.
my hope is like if you're gonna mini retirement, it's so much money and it's so much effort and it's so much work and it's so much hassle. Like if you're gonna go through all of that, spend the $20, take a couple hours and like make it really good. Like it's worth the investment to have an incredible mini retirement instead of a mediocre one.
Absolutely.
So that's one intention of the book is like it will give you everything you need to know to pull this off. But
Agreed.
the other, even if you aren't in the stage of like, I'm actively planning, I think it helps people see, oh, this is possible.
Mhm.
Actually, maybe this could fit in. Actually, maybe this is something I could do. Like maybe not now, but if I just start taking a few steps in that direction, go confidently in the direction of your dreams. If I start walking in that direction, I think I'm going to stumble across a couple of these.
Yeah, no, that's absolutely correct. And I feel the same way about the book. Is it gives you the why and the inspiration to do it, but also the how, which is
Yeah.
really important. Because to your point, a lot of people talk about retire early, but they don't go through the real life implications of that and how to do it. So I think your book balances it really well. I'm assuming once it was released, you can get it on all the major booksellers where
Yeah, it
people
is
can go find it.
available for pre-order everywhere, and then it will
Mhm.
just magically show up, on September 9th, like a
That's
delightful surprise.
There you go. So I've read the digital version, but I am definitely excited to get the physical book and let my wife read it and things like that because I think there's a lot that can be learned and just the excitement of the possibility of something different is super exciting.
Yes,
So
yes.
in addition to your books coming out, how can people work with you? How can they reach out to you if they have more questions or want to get more involved?
Yeah, retireoften.com. You can find my podcast, you can find coaching. I've got a newsletter that's super unhinged, so if you like random stuff showing up in your inbox, like at what frequency? We don't know. It's a surprise to all of us, but it'll occasionally pop up an email from me. That's there. And on social media, I'm at Jillian Johnsrud. And yeah, I'm pretty active on there. So if you want to kind of send me a DM or uh see random thoughts that I'm thinking that day, that's the place for it.
Yeah, I really enjoy your podcast because you have guests on there who have done these many retirements, and so you get some real world different
Mhm.
viewpoints as opposed to just maybe your viewpoint or
Yes.
my mental viewpoint.
Yeah.
You get all these different experiences from different people who have actually done it or are on the path
Mhm.
to doing it. So I really enjoy your podcast. So everyone, go check out Jillian's work, her podcast, her upcoming book, her website. Jillian, thank you so much for coming on, and best of luck with the new book.
Thanks so much for having me.
Absolutely. Thanks so much. Thanks for watching. While you're here, check out this next video to learn more about dividends, income investing, and option selling. And while you're here, make sure you subscribe. Click the like button. It really does help. Thanks.